Hi there. You missed last session, and that's fine. We all have to miss sessions occasionally. It wasn't the busiest of sessions, but I think you're going to want to hear about this. So recapping the session that you were at last, I think. So do you remember last time we had that tiny wormling monster? Well, the party this time, I think, worked out that it was probably, not certainly, but probably a wormling black dragon. And the other things that you thought were some kind of alive tree. Starting this session, just after the combat, you searched the area. Obviously, you'd recovered the magical items from last time as well. So you still have all of those on you. Just double check that they're on the right portion of your sheet. And shortly after that was all done, you were investigating the wormling black dragon's corpse. I had to climb on a building to do it, but you were investigating the corpse when all of you more felt than heard a roar, which seems to just go through the floor as a kind of shockwave more so than an audible thing in your ear. So you felt that ripple through, and then a black cloud started to head from the mountains down across the plains to Coneyberry. The party, Kraz, Orphus and Amari, opted to not stick the fuck around, which pretty good idea. Not gonna lie. So all of you decided to leave, get the fuck out of town before the problem showed up. The party went to the edge of the forest, near to where you encountered the hag, who you put to rest, I suppose. Just as you rode, because you have horses now, just as you rode to the edge of the forest, just to get out of the way of the plains and to not be seen, you saw this cloud go over Coneyberry and jet a purplish black light, multiple rays into the former village and town of Coneyberry, where there was a purple smokestack leading up away from it once this thing was done. This black cloud of purple hatred crystallineness flew around for a bit and then fucked off back to the mountains. You all waited for a little while, and then you decided to head across to Old Elwell, where you originally had the reports of the undead that you were going to clean up. As you were passing Coneyberry again, you noticed that Coneyberry was entirely destroyed. The place is mostly just a purple crater. It's a blackened sooty pile with enormous craters in the middle of it and large purple crystalline structures coming out of it. So the party gave that quite a wide berth as you headed to Old Elwell. As you were heading along the tribal trail as the party were heading to the east, you opted to follow the tribal trail east just so you could get a night's rest before heading to Old Elwell itself. As you were resting just off of the path, you noticed two humanoid creatures sprinting from east to west. The party opted not to get involved because these things were Terminator running along, moving at great speed. Upon closer inspection, or the closest inspection the party could reasonably do without getting involved with them, these things appeared to be entirely made of purple crystalline structure, and they moved fast. They were moving at probably 60 feet per hour. They were herring it, and they were moving in the direction of the eastern portion of the trail. So they came from the west, so presumably from Coneyberry, and they were going east, where the first village or town that they will come across is Tribor itself. So the party had their night's rest and then left for the Old Elwell. At the Old Elwell, you came across an old structure, which looked like to have been an old wizard's tower, which has long since fallen over. And you came across what you then identified as a Red Wizard of Thay, or some of you identified a Red Wizard of Thay. Some of you tried and failed, but were eventually told. Big combat ensues. You fight lots of undead. You find some bits and pieces. You mill around there for a little while. We end the session with the party heading back to the tribal trail, away from Old Elwell, with the intention to head to Tribal proper. As you are approaching the tribal trail, you notice that there is a stream, a relatively steady stream going from west to east, what appears to be shuffling undead, but these undead aren't like undead that you've encountered before. These undead have crystals growing out of them, but are very, very, very old bodies. So the party at the time opted to trace the tribal trail, going towards Tribor itself, but not so close to the tribal trail as to set off or trigger or kite these enemies. And that's where we left it. Let's see what happens in the next one.